Association for Dialogue and Affirmation of Monotheism is presenting to you next video.
Free, free, free Palestine!
Who were pro-Palestinian, who maybe showed different ideas than them, definitely helped sway them to actually seeing what is happening, to definitely, or even to look at it for themselves, to see what's happening just by looking into it themselves. I think it helped worldwide by just even like people who like in like Siam maybe, who just, or Thailand, who didn't know like anything about what's going on, like just seeing that like American students are protesting like this, and helps them look into it because they're a little more curious now.
My experience, I've done the most talks I've done like with people about Palestine and the history of Palestine has been local. I've talked to my family, I've talked to some people at school, some peers, and even people our age may not have any idea about, like, they may know what's happening, but they don't know why.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Well,
Today we are honored to have our special guest, Aure Lut, and his twin brother, Yusuf from Oregon, USA. They have recently joined the journey to Islam, so we know some of the experience they did had, also the challenges of the young Muslims which are advocating for justice in Oregon. And hopefully in this today podcast, we will speak about topics like the impact of their conversion to Islam, their motivation for participating in young Muslim activism. Also, we will speak and delve about the current situation in Gaza and misconceptions surrounding it, the protests which occurred in Oregon, in other states, in campuses throughout USA, in Europe and Australia. So the awareness which is happening, the raising awareness, the social media and traditional media shaping the public perception. Also the practical steps individual can take to support the people of Gaza, to help the other groups which are now need in human rights and watching the human rights, and also how to, in this prospect, how to support the Muslim community, the Muslim youth community. We aim to shed the light of the critical issues and provide a platform for their community to share their insight and experience. We hope this discussion will inspire and educate the listeners, which are important for standing up for justice and raising awareness. So may Allah reward you us all and our effort and guide us toward the truth and justice. First question for both of you. How has your life changed since becoming Muslim, especially living in Oregon, USA?
I would say that first of all, becoming Muslim has set a regiment in my day-to-day life where I kind of like have an idea of what I'm going to do. Like every single day, I have like a intention of what I am doing and what I'm going to do, what my goal is for the day, stuff like that. It's given me, motivation, giving me discipline. And then when it comes to like specifically Oregon, I'd say, I'm not sure. In Oregon, it feels like, how do I put this? It feels like there's not a lot of um fanaticism either way, kind of. Like there's not a lot of people who are like, oh, Islam's the devil. There's not a lot of people who are like, oh, Islam is like the greatest thing ever. This just feels like a lot of Islam is something far away, and if it, we will learn when we learn. Basically, that's what it feels like. Um, I haven't felt any change with how I've been treated, but that's might just be because I don't appear Muslim by the average like look, and I don't necessarily introduce myself to many people who might think of Muslims in a way that would be harmful. So, yeah, I say the greatest difference from Muslim to non-Muslim is like the discipline, the daily regiment, the community. I'd say that's what it mostly is.
Yusuf, can you add up?
Yes. Yeah, I heard it.
Do you see some stories which are people buying about the danger of Islam? So when you became Muslim, did you felt this?
It wasn't necessarily that they bought a lot of dangerous stories about Islam. It's more they were very curious. They were very curious. And I think that whatever they heard about Islam was definitely from the media, and we're very skeptical of the media here.
So do you describe this experience like feeling somebody who is in isolation cannot speak up, or he can speak up freely about something which he feels in community?
I think here in Oregon, you have a much wider ability to speak about things than you would in other states. Um, Especially about things, yeah, that you believe, but I do think there's certain boundaries for certain. I don't think Islam's one of them. I think in Oregon, people don't necessarily trust the media in the same way as like maybe Georgia or New York or whatever, or they don't trust the older generation or like the status quo talk maybe. So when it comes to Islam, I feel like they're a lot more open, but I also definitely feel like they don't seek out knowledge about Islam, like someone who like only heard things on the media about it.
Do you both see the opportunity of Dawa? Do you feel the change in the air now after the protest occurred and after people maybe changed their minds about Islam?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the protests have definitely made it so less people are trusting of media, and especially the war in Gaza made it so a lot more people are less trusting of media as well. So they're a lot more open to something that they've only heard from the media. I definitely think there's great dialogue opportunities, especially just the fact that you can go there and people can just see that even if you're a Muslim, you're like a normal human being. You're not like going out there with like a gun in your hand or anything like that. You're just a really normal person. Even if you just follow this religion that's always being told in the media as some like, evil thing. I definitely think that's a great opportunity that this presents.
Yusuf, do you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
So
It's
can you add some information for us? For example, some example?
it's just a lot more like open, like an open topic. It's the topic is more out in front. It's not like buried. Instead of people just hearing about Islam from the news, they can hear it from their more local community, which makes it a little more accurate, I would say. And during like, for example, I sometimes with my peers I'll get asked questions, and none of those questions feel very Islamophobic, or they're just curious.
Okay, nice. I will turn to the other part of this is something more directly because we know what's happening in Gaza, the killing of babies, the kids, and all the ruining and destroying, and about the destruction, and we can call it genocide because not just us and also the court in Europe, which decided that there is a genocide happening and they are continually watching it, but it's in front of all the world and the youth cannot accept it. So this is a good sign for the youth, and hopefully what the raising awareness can make a difference for the people in Gaza. Can this for long termly make a difference according to you?
In the long term, absolutely. If more of the generation that is going to become the politicians and the leaders and the generals learn about about the truth that's actually going on there, then over time there'll be less and less openness working with and like supporting of Israel's policies. In the short term, the youth doesn't necessarily have as much power as an older generation person would, I'd say, especially in maybe the US, because like a majority of the politicians are older than, the average American. They're more set in like, um, I'd say the political elite that's been established and entrenched. So I definitely think that long term, oh, absolutely. But in the short term, it's not nearly as like changing as I would like it to.
Yusuf, can this
Yeah.
make a change accordingly?
I think it already has in a lot of ways, but whether or not it'll continue to change things is a little bit more cloudy or like foggy for me to see. I've noticed that especially as it's gone on for longer and longer, people pay attention to it. It's less on people's minds. And I would love to see more change come about from it, but I'm not confident in any permanent changes in any like actual influential governments or like political bodies.
In here in Europe, we saw the protests and we were amazed. Actually, we were pleased to see the youth standing up And when you see that they are standing about a greater, I can say maybe freely, enemy. And I know the enemy is from the state and the politician and the one who are appointed, but standing up is something which is human right, and you did a good job. I think you're youth, American youth. So I believe that change comes from the youth. So like I asked before, do you feel the change? Do you feel the air in the change in the air?
When it came to the big all protests on the campuses, yeah, I definitely think, especially for the college youth, the fact that they could see and talk to people who were pro-Palestinian, who maybe showed different ideas than them, definitely helped sway them to actually seeing what is happening, to definitely, or even to look at it for themselves, to see what's happening just by looking into it themselves. I think it helped worldwide by just even like people who like in like Siam maybe, who just, or Thailand, who didn't know like anything about what's going on, like just seeing that like American students are protesting like this, and helps them
Yeah.
look into it because they're a little more curious now. So I definitely think that that was a huge thing because it was actually something that was shown in the media.
And Yusuf, also you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
So beyond the protesting, what other actions can individuals take to support the people of Gaza, especially in Oregon, USA? Do they have Muslim community which is responsible, which can advocate their rights?
Oregon doesn't have a huge Muslim population. It's mostly in the very big city, but there's enough Muslims in each city, I'd say, to like mean something, even if it's something little, even if it's just showing up to like a small protest of like 50 to 70 people. Um, you can, I say, if you want to help Gaza in ways besides protesting, you can pray, you can boycott Israeli goods, you can just talk to your friends and family who might not know anything about it, or even just to strangers in any way possible. There's any way to like instate a curiosity about actually what's going on. It doesn't even have to be like you convince them. It just has to be like a push to like see what is actually going on there.
Yusuf, this podcast is part of this advocacy of the fight for the rights of the not just Palestinians, all the free world. Do you see yourself in the struggle?
I think I do, but whenever I look at myself, I feel like I could always do more, and there is more I can do.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
I agree. We always can do, but something which we try to do step by step, so we don't do any wrong steps, because many wrong steps led the youth to be maybe, I don't know, radicalized or change the point. So people should always strive to have the best of their self with education and personal development. So how do you feel the media has portrayed the Gaza conflict, the protest? Are there biases or gaps in coverage that you noticed, which you mentioned also before?
I definitely think that a majority of the media, especially the Western media, is going to be pro-Israel because it's funded by politicians. It depends on politicians. It depends on even Israeli aid, Israeli money. So it's going to be biased towards what the politicians think, and the politicians think that Israel's in the right. So it's going to be biased towards Israel. Of course, there's several news stations that do a good job. Al Jazeera, that's a good one. There's several really good Muslim ones like Five Pillars.
Yeah.
But I think that you need to find a good media source that you feel like you trust, that you feel like is telling the truth, and then you look into it further and make sure it is, and then you can use that as a good source. But yeah, a majority of the media is going to be biased towards Israel in this regard.
Yusuf, do you have
I definitely agree with my brother here, and I would even state that even if you find a news source that's biased towards Palestine, that can be helpful because then you're at least hearing another side of the story.
Mhm. So it's also our channel in struggle because it's shadow banned. Maybe some Islamic channels are shadow banned. Some when we see the social media, it's controlled by some. I didn't know this information, but now it's already very known. The fact that many Israeli companies are controlling, for example, YouTube, also some other channels. And behind this, even there are secret agents which are using their position to possibly to control some media outlets and information which are going outside to the world. So is this a dangerous situation which you see? How can we avoid this, for example, if we know that everything is controlled from WhatsApp, from YouTube? Only I think maybe now Twitter was like open source, but now they found out also that Elon Musk is having troubles and problems, and he doesn't have any control on Twitter also. So it stays like TikTok. I don't know. So which media do you use most as young?
I don't think we really use media. I think we're very I think we're a case where we don't use media. We're not on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. The only like quote unquote social media I've ever been on is Reddit, but I don't talk there. I just look at what's like being said, basically. I think the best way to avoid shadow banning and stuff like that, and just like is just to talk personally. And, maybe organize little discussion groups, especially at colleges, um, and just like or even just street dialogue, like Sun in Britain, stuff like that where you have a talk to talk because there's very little ways they can shadow ban that. I mean, the only way they can really break that up is a very physical way that's very clear.
Nice idea. Yusuf, do you agree?
Yeah, that was actually that was really well stated.
I know that you're twins, but you should have more, for example, some difference, but you don't have. So I agree, but also the online space, it's so waste. So we need to use it as youth. They have the most impact, I think. If this video, for example, is spreaded toward the social media, English channel, American channel, I don't know, every English aspect, and then translated, it has more opportunity for somebody who cannot see it, who can change the narrative. And how do we educate people in the end? If it's only street dawa, we can change something else.
Okay, so the way I see the youth is there's three groups. There's the people who are very pro-Palestinian and they go out and protest, and they're very clear on the news. There's the people who either don't care or are just not well educated enough, and they are the demographic we should be going for. And then there's the pro-Zionists, right? The Zionist youth. Basically, a lot of Israel is too, right? And they're just never going to accept truth because they've, even if we explained it in the best way possible and gave tons and tons of evidence, they're just not going to accept it because they've kind of been raised in a way where they can't believe it. So what we need to do is we need to make sure we're actually reaching people who are actually like going to listen and actually going to hear what we're saying and not just going to blow it off. That's first of all what we need to do. And again, the best way to do this is short, small discussion groups, face-to-face talks, even like just like talking with your friends and family and like spreading it around through your personal contact or something like that. I think that is definitely one of the best ways because a lot of the older people, even the people who are like 30 or 40 in the US or even like 29, they don't have any education about what's happening, what the situation is, what the history is. And so they can be curious and they can ask you. And that's one of the best ways, honestly, to inform them is just you talking to them.
Yusuf?
I will agree with my brother there and also state that like in my experience, I've done the most talks I've done like with people about Palestine and the history of Palestine has been local. I've talked to my family, I've talked to some people at school, some peers, and even people our age may not have any idea about like they may know what's happening, but they don't know why. And the danger of talking online is it can be too open and it can just dissolve into very extreme points where you have to like have like over like conflict with the other side, which would be the pro-Israelis at this with this example. Yeah.
So in short, we know the history of Palestine, we know the history of the Middle East, and what's the most important people to educate that this is not happening just now in this year, and the war didn't start today. It is around 100 years or maybe more old story. And why do you think the people, the educator, for example, the professionals, which are lecturer, do they find this situation critical for them? Do they support the youth or they attack them?
The teachers,
Yeah.
um, I think again, a lot of them just aren't educated enough, so they don't make hard lines. And then again, it's going to be divided between the people who are educated and are pro-Palestinian and the people who are pro-Zionist. But I do think a majority of teachers are going to be pro-Palestine, even if it's a little bit, because they're like, well, even if I don't know anything about this, it's still a war, which tons of kids are dying, and I'd rather see it end than it continue like continuously.
Yusuf, do you see the change with the professors and the lecturers and the teachers?
In my experience, usually with teachers, they'll ask me for my input, especially at South Eugene High School, where we were just until this year when we graduated. It was basically what happened was it was two groups, and it was us Muslim students and a few other regular kids, and then there was the Jewish Student Union that was filled with the Zionists. And I was asked to give my perspective in classes because I think the teacher knew, the specific teacher, I'm not going to name her, the specific teacher knew that the Zionist would give her perspective. And they don't pick a side because they can't in a lot of cases. I know that the school.
They will lose the job, maybe.
Yeah, and the school in general, there were some teachers that supported us, and the school in general didn't stop us from doing what we were doing. So, which is better than in some places in the US.
That's a good awareness and good topic and personal experience, which I heard. And your insight is very thoughtful and very important for me, for the community, for all the Muslims worldwide. I hope that you as youth will set up a new model and find a way how to fight this and how to fight for the truth, which is the most important thing in the world, to fight and to show the light to the people. For Islam is the light, but also the truth about Gaza, Palestinian issues open the heart for the people, and many converts happened in Europe, in USA, and worldwide. Have you seen any converts which outcome was from Palestinian personally, or do you have some testimonies?
I don't think so. I think most of our converts here are just Eugenians who've like kind of lived in Oregon their whole life, or they've lived in the United States their whole life. I don't think our converts have been specifically like very linked with Israel or Palestine. We definitely have a lot of Palestinians,
Yeah.
but they're Palestinian. They're not like white or Jewish. So I mean, the only thing that we have in connection is that we're technically Jewish enough to be able to go there and get Israeli citizenship. We've never like been there or like even knew that for like a year or two since we knew that.
So do you think, Yusuf, that this, like your brother said, so it's something which is pumped on the social media, that there are many converts from Palestinian and Israeli issues? I don't know if this is truth, but I want to see from your side. Do you believe that there is some information which are just placed and they're not so truthful?
I think like when I see people converting because of Palestinian issues, I'm happy, but I'm also worried because they might be coming from a perspective of seeing what some of the best that Islam can bring without understanding all of it, like even the stuff that may be considered a little more difficult to accept. And I've never experienced a convert here specifically for support of Palestine, but I have seen a lot more converts than in the past.
I am on your stance. Even now, I have many information that this is coming, and I am also doubtful about the stance of the people who are becoming Muslim because of some issue, which is national, also Islamic, but first national issue. And we know that we are fighting for the truth. People will come to the truth. But the reasoning about dawah and this kind of stuff, we have to know that first the barrier is we are going to one filter. It's called you shouldn't believe in the false gods. So when you don't believe in the false god, you have to find your one God, truthful God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the one and only creator, all of us. This kind of message to the people because they don't know the true God. They know the Trinity God, they know some other gods. How do you find a way to explain them?
How do I explain Tawheed?
Yeah, Tawheed.
I would say the best way, I mean, I haven't really done it a lot. I feel like a lot of people I've talked to have at least understood the basis of in Islam there's one God. But I'd say if I had to on the fly explain the idea of one singular God and no partners or successors to someone who didn't like even understand it or even like who's never even heard of it, I'd say the best way to do it would be to explain it as I don't know. That's actually a really good question.
Well,
I'd say
yeah.
the best way, because I could always compare it to like an earthly thing, but I don't want to do that because you would explain to like there's only one king or there's only one head's craftsman or something like that. But I just don't want to do that. So I find it. I think that's actually a really good question.
So,
Give you an idea.
any Yusuf, any idea about this?
Usually when people come to ask me questions about Islam, it's very specific questions. And if I had to explain one God, I would usually probably explain it like something that everything has to stem from one thing. Like it can't be like, especially in terms of like how easy it's really easy, in my opinion, to explain against polytheism, like the Arabic polytheism. But if I was engaging with a Christian, usually the best way to do that would be comparing, it would be just one part of the Trinity, which would be the Father in their case. And it's they probably could grasp it at that point. They might not agree with me, but they would definitely be able to grasp it.
Yeah, I agree. Because we have less than 1 minute stay time, I will just conclude this session about Gaza. Do you
I
agree?
think.
Yeah.
I think we did. I think we had a good discussion today. I think we can delay the other talks for a later date, especially because it's summer and we're completely free. Basically, well, at least right now we haven't gotten a job yet, but
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Ahi, Lut, Yusuf, may Allah reward you
Yeah.
our efforts and guide us toward the truth.